Hi, this is Stephen Bruck of Messianic Moment. Today is Friday, October 27th, 2017. Tonight starts Shabbat. Tonight's parsha of the Torah is Lech Lecha. And this is the portion where we start off with Abraham being called out of the Chaldees. And God says, Abraham, I'm God. I want you to walk to the land of Canaan, and I'll tell you when to stop. But take everything with you because you're not coming back. Abraham says, all right, I'll go. So the very next morning he leaves. Takes everything with him, including his nephew Lot and all Lot's possessions. And they go to the land of Canaan. And when they get there, there's a terrible famine. So they go down to Egypt, which is, what do you do? Hey, I got a famine. What do I do? Oh, let's go to Egypt. It's a nice place for a famine. So they get down there. But now, Abraham says to Sarah, you're a little hot, babe. You're not a spring chicken, but you're still pretty hot. So they're going to kill me because it's what the Egyptians do. They don't commit adultery. That's no good. But if somebody's married to a woman that you really want, you kill the guy. Then you can have the women. And that's kosher. Yeah. Sugar. Anyway, so he says, tell him you're my sister, which she kind of is, because they're related. And of course, Pharaoh's people see her. They tell Pharaoh. Pharaoh says, yep, I want her. And Pharaoh takes her for a wife. And he pays Abraham a lot of stuff. Yeah, he gives him money, he gives him silver, gold, sheep, oxen, whatever, to buy the bride. Well, as soon as Sarah's in the Pharaoh's home is cursed. Because God's like, hey, I don't go for this no matter what. So Pharaoh gets his diviners, and they look and they say, hey, guess what? This guy's married to the lady. It's not a brother. So Pharaoh calls Abraham and says, hey, what are you doing? What's Moxie? What's the matter with you? You trying to ruin me? You ruin my life, everything? Why didn't you just say she was your sister? And Abraham says, well, because if, I said she was my sister because otherwise you'd kill me. That's how you guys do down here. So Pharaoh says, all right, you know what? Fine. Take your wife, take the stuff, get out of here. Don't let the door hit you in the tuchus on your way out. And I'll even give you a couple people just to help you walk and make the right way out. So Pharaoh kicks him back up to the land of Canaan. Abraham's walking around. Now, by this time, he and Lot have, both gotten pretty rich. And Lot says, hey, my herdsmen are fighting with your herdsmen. Abraham says, well, hey, we're relatives. We're family. We shouldn't fight. So you pick a land to go to. You go east. I'll go west. You go north. I'll go south. Whatever. So Lot sees Sodom and Gomorrah, and the land then, before the destruction, was really nice. Really great for cattle. So he decides, I'm going to go over there. Abraham says, fine, Zagazun, go over there. I'll go somewhere else. Of course, we know later Lot didn't really pick the best place to go. Anyway, so Abraham's there, and Abraham now is being told by God a couple of times, actually, 4 times. 4 times in this parsha, God tells Abraham he's going to make him a great nation, he's going to make him a great name, and he's going to inherit all the land that he's walking in. And so Abraham now is sitting there saying, I know you're going to do this for me, and I appreciate it, and I believe you. And one of the most important parts of this passage is when Abraham believes God. Just because he believed him, it was counted to him as righteousness. You see that a lot, both Old Covenant and New Covenant writings. But that's not what we're going to talk about. Anyway, so Abraham's back in the land, and what happens is basically Sarai, not Sarah yet, but Sarai is really upset she doesn't have any kids. They're in their late 70s. She's in her 60s. And nothing's happening. So she says, I've got a handmaiden named Hagar. She's, not bad. But Abraham, I want you to go in and give me children through her. So Abraham says, so you want me to go sleep with your handmaiden to give her children that you can take? And Sarai says, yeah, that's the plan. So he says, all right. So he sleeps with Hagar. She conceives. She has a son. And what do you think happens? Sarai doesn't like it. Most likely because Hagar is saying, I got a son and you don't. I got a son and you don't. So Sarah says, well, you got a son and I don't, but I don't have you anymore. Get out. Tells Abram, I'm kicking her out. Abram says, well, whatever. I'd rather have her go into the desert than have to deal with you. So she goes into the desert, and when she's out there, she's going to starve to death. She runs out of water. She runs out of food. She puts Ishmael, the son, in a corner somewhere under a bush because she doesn't even want to watch him die. But God comes to her and says, look, even though I know the trouble you've been having with Sarai, I don't blame you for wanting to leave really after she kicked you out, but you got to go back. You got to deal with it because Ishmael is a seed of Abraham. I'm going to make a great nation out of him. He's going to be 12 princes will come from him. So don't worry. Your son will live, you'll live. Look, open your eyes. There's there. There's the well. There's a well. And so she goes to the well, and they survive. She goes back, and she deals with Sarah. Meanwhile, Abraham is talking to God, saying, God, I believe you. I believe all these things are going to happen, but where's my confirmation? You know, how do I know really that this isn't some vision that I'm just imagining it? So God says, okay, take some animals, cut them in half, lay them down. I'll be back. So Abraham does that. He kicks all the birds away all day long, getting rid of the birds. And finally, what he does is he falls into a deep, deep sleep at night. And God comes to him at night and tells him about the 400 years that his people are going to be enslaved, but they will come out as a great nation, and confirms his promise and passes as a torch through the animals. That's the covenant God made with Abraham about the inheritance of the land and the promise of his seed through his son, a son of his own. And that is God's promise to Abraham. That's the covenant. But still, covenants are two sides, right? So Abraham has the covenant with God, and we see that later. This covenant with God and Abraham happens in chapter 15, but later in chapter 17, God confirms that you will have a son from your own loins, and I will give you all the land. And what you're going to do is, your end of the covenant is, you're going to circumcise all your males. You're going to circumcise yourself, Ishmael, all the men that are with you, your nephews, everybody, all your slaves, every male in your household is to be circumcised. And Abram says, all right. God says, well, you're no longer Abram either. You're now Abraham. And Sarai, she's now Sarah. So they went from being father to father of nations. And Sarah went from being Sarai to being princess. Or a queen, some people say. Anyway, God gave him a really big promotion. And what's remarkable is that, Abram's like 99, and he gets circumcised that very day. That very day, he lines everybody up, and das is it, a bishing off the top. And, well, I'm glad that God said later on that the circumcisions have to be done on the 8th day. Because personally, folks, when you're 8 days old, you don't remember these things. But if it was 8 years or 18 or 80, I would not want to go through that now. No. Anyway, so that's the end of the Parsha with the circumcisions. And what I want to talk about today is there's so much good stuff in this Parsha, but what I like is the fact that God told Abraham no less than 4 times that he's going to make a great nation out of him, that he's going to inherit the land, and that his seed will be basically as many as the stars in the sky. And a lot of people have been trying to get rid of that promise. They've been trying to override God's promise. Some of the people you may have heard of, Assyrians, Egyptians, Babylonians, Nazis, today, fundamentalist Islamists and terrorists. Everybody's trying to kill Jews, but we're not dead. And we're still here because God made a promise. And when God makes a promise, that's it. God's promises are gold. They are absolute. When God said something is going to happen, if God says it's going to happen even in the distant future, it's already history. That's right. If God says it's going to happen in the future, it's already history. Because God's in the future. He's already there. He's not saying, I think it's going to happen, it might happen, it's a good guess, I got a really good feeling about it. No. He's watching it. I'll give you an example. You're in one of those little sports cars, and you're on a road, and the road's flat, just forever. It goes forever. Like you're in Kansas, and the sports car's like this high from the ground, and you got a big car in front of you, one of those SUVs or pickup trucks that people buy because, well, they buy them. Anyway, that's a different story. So, you're back here, and all you can see is the car right in front of your nose. Meanwhile, in the lane next to you is a guy driving one of those gigantic semis, where his seat is so high up in the air that he has to have a Nepalese Sherpa next to him as riding shotgun. So this guy in the semi can see way down the road. He sees there's an accident down the road, and he knows it's not going to clear up for a long time. Meanwhile, you're still driving. You're going at a good pace. So he beeps. He has the Sherpa yell out the window, "Hey, buddy, don't rush it. In about 5 minutes, you're going to be stuck here for hours." And you're thinking, what's he know? He's looking, I'm looking at the same road he's looking. But no, you're not. You're only looking this far ahead. That far ahead. He's looking all the way down the road because he's way up there. He can see. And that's sort of how it is with God. What we see is just what's in front of us. We can't see past our noses. But God sees all the way to the end of time and beyond. So when God says this is going to happen, it already has happened. It already has happened. So we can trust what God says. And God said, Abraham's seed will be as numerous as the stars in the sky. And how's that going to happen? Well, Jews are only about 0.4%. That's 0.04. Not 0.4, but 0.04 of 1%. It's a very small number. Very small number. So how can we be as numerous as the stars in the sky? Well, because everybody else in the world is Gentile. And what did God do in the book of Acts with Cornelius and Peter? In chapter 15, he made the salvation through Torah available to the Gentiles. And so it's not just going to be Jews, because when a Gentile accepts Yeshua HaMashiach as his or her Messiah, they are adopted in to the seed of Abraham. They are adopted sons and daughters of Abraham. So it's not just the Jews. It's going to be the Jews, Messianic Jews, Hebraic roots Christians, Christians who maybe not call themselves Hebraic roots, but who understand that the Torah is not dead, that Jesus did not do away with the Torah, he preached Torah. And Constantine did away with the Torah. Constantine screwed up Christianity. Jesus didn't. Jesus taught Judaism. That was the only thing there was. And so God's promise that Abraham's seed will be as numerous as the stars in the sky is going to happen. Because there are going to be many, many people, Jewish and not Jewish, who are going to be adopted sons and daughters of Abraham because of their belief and worship of God and Messiah Yeshua. So that will happen. It's happening now. Look at the amount of Hebraic roots churches that are starting to spring up. It's really happening. And the other promise about inheriting the land, well, we were there. We got kicked out because we messed up, but we're back. We've been regathering. And since the mid-1900s, we've been gathering stronger and stronger. And now, not only have we gathered, but now it's been 50 years. This is the Jubilee year of us regaining Jerusalem, the holy city. That was our city. David took it, and it's been ours ever since. And even though the Arab nations are all around, well, in the desert, when God told Hagar, your son Ishmael will live, he also told her he's going to be a wild ass of a man. And his hand will be against every brother, and every brother's hand will be against his. And that's what we see. We see, Iran, Iraq, Persia, Syria, Egypt. None of these countries get along. They're always fighting with each other, if not internally, between themselves. So they're never going to really be strong enough. And even if they were strong, even if they all got together and worked together, God would still put them down. Doesn't matter, because the Jews are in Israel now. We've regathered. God's promise about the regathering, to talk through the prophets of the regathering. It's all happening now. Watch it. It's there. God promised 4 times to Abraham, no less than 4 times, just in this parsha. And he repeats it to Isaac, and it's repeated through the prophets. The land belongs to the Jewish people. The sons and daughters of Abraham are going to be in the land. They are in the land. They're gaining more in the land. They're going to gain more land, and eventually we will have all the land that God promised to Abraham, right from the beginning. We're there. We're not moving. That's it. It's done. Because God has judged Israel. Israel has been judged. Now, the nations, they're getting judged. Everybody else is getting their dues. Because the bowls of wrath are going to get turned over really soon. So the message today is, when God says something is going to happen, you can bank on it. It's going to happen. And what's wonderful is that it's happening in our time, right here. People of Israel are there, and they're there to stay. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord for that. Baruch Hashem. All right, so, Shabbat Shalom. Enjoy your weekend and your rest. Thank you for watching. Please like this video. Check out my website, messianicmoment.com. Check out the books, the pictures. Make comments. Let me know what you think I should do or shouldn't do. And if you do comment on this, agree or don't agree, that's fine. But be nice. Shabbat Shalom.